buy companies with strong growth potential. Strong growth potential. I can break that down. Can break that down into several ways. So, one of the ways is buying a company that you could see yourself buying more and more of their products down the line, despite price increases, right? And we spoke about one a while ago, like Fontana. I don't know if you can give any examples, Preston.
Maybe like Transjam. So if you are
Okay.
someone that lives in Portmore or Mandeville, with
Mm-hmm.
especially with the new leg of the highway, you can see that hey, a lot of people that live in Mandeville are going to want to cut down the time. Like they're always maybe complaining about the time it takes to get to Kingston.
That's funny
So if
because I'm in Mandeville right now.
you took the
Yeah,
leg
of course,
and the
that highway.
cows,
No, no cows, no
you're on
cows.
cow
There was
watch
always on cow watch.
and the
There was a
backward
goat though.
drivers.
There was a goat. No, no
Damn
backward drive
goat.
was there. There was a goat.
Always a
Unfortunately,
goat.
R.I.P. goat. But
Wait, you killed
yeah,
it?
no, the highway. No, no, not me. No, no, no. My car is good, bro. Relax. I'm always on the watch,
I'm
so
asking about the goat.
no, it was dead, but it's not me killed it. Yeah, poor goat.
Okay.
But it definitely cut down the time to get here, because on average, as I said, I don't want to tell you my average speed, but that highway a while ago, driving normally took me like 40 minutes. 40 minutes.
For our astute guests, they could easily work that out.
Yeah, well, it took me. I'm pretty sure 40 minutes is close to like speed limit, and this is from uh you come off of Mandela, and when you reach Williamsfield, close to Williamsfield, the end of the highway, 40 minutes. I think that cut down time tremendously, because speed limit going the other path would have taken an hour and a half. Right, going the regular route, like first highway, and then come off of Maypen, and then you go to Mandeville, and you pass in like Toll Gate, and you Clarendon Park, and Porus, and St. Toulis, and all. Cut out the whole of that, and it's beautiful. It's unfortunate for the businesses that are along that strip, because now they see less traffic, but it makes things more convenient for me and for other businesses as well, like other distribution companies. It now cuts down the time to distribute a lot of the products to Mandeville, so some companies can actually benefit from this highway as well. So, and Transjam, of course, the owner of the highway, I mean, they're benefiting as well, and they will benefit when they start collecting fees from that Mandeville leg. So yeah, even another company that I could think of, fesco fesco sells gas. No matter how high gas prices are gonna go, you got to get to work, right? Because that's what's gonna pay the bills. So no matter how high gas prices are gonna go, people still have to buy gas, right? You consistently will buy gas, and the locations of Fesco are pretty convenient. I work very close to Beechwood, so I use Beechwood's gas
Mm.
station all the time, and it's 24/7. So if I'm going home late from work, I can
Oh.
just swing by Beechwood, and most of the gas stations will be closed. But because it's 24/7, they're gonna get my money. So that's just the reality of it. So I that's one of the points I like. So that's one point on the buying company with strong growth potential. I think another point is for growth potential, it's easier for a smaller company to double its revenues versus like a larger company to double its revenues. And I can give an example. All right. Uh, GK, that's a large company. Or even that's a large company. Let's say that's a pretty large company, right? I would assume it's a large company. It's a large company on the stock exchange, and we're talking Grace Kennedy here. Pretty large company. If you Google Grace Kennedy's 2030 vision, and we've spoken about it on the podcast, but if you Google, and we spoke about it several times. I think the first time we spoke about it was from buybacks, that episode. But we spoke about how they want to increase their revenues, I think, by 70%. I think, or 70% is supposed to be exports, right? Let me just bring it up. Yeah, so 70% of their revenues actually they want to earn outside of Jamaica. Sorry, just had to clarify. At 70%, they want to earn outside of Jamaica. So they don't have a particular, they're not saying double their revenues or so on. They just have a specific metric
No,
that,
they actually gave. Hold on. So I looked at it. So for 2022, for example, for their financial year, they made about when it's about 140 billion Jamaican, and if you convert that to US, that's like I think 900 million. So let's call it just under a billion. They said they want
Mhm.
to be targeting 2.1 billion by 2030. So essentially,
Oh,
it's
yes.
about doubling
Yes.
the revenues.
Yes. It's about doubling
So
the revenues.
so
But
essentially, it's
that's,
a lot.
when did that come out though? So
The
they
20.
released the 2030 vision in 2022, right? The point I'm making is, remember, it's easier for smaller companies to double its revenues. And if we're comparing this to a larger company, so if we look at a smaller company, and I don't know if you've been scrolling on Instagram recently, but there's a sponsored ad that I've seen by a company who we had on the podcast, their CEO, Javane Brownie. That's One Great Studio. They posted that their profits year over year have increased by 498%, right? And that's just 1 year. And that's a smaller company. That's a junior
That's
market
before
company.
paying down the debt too. That's before the
Yes.
IPO funds,
That's before IPO funds. That's
before
before that.
the listing hype, the
Precisely.
increased marketing, more customers.
That's almost 500% profit
And
year
that's
over
without
year.
them even having the tax break too.
That's without a lot of things, bro. That's without a lot of things. So much smaller company, but it is easier to to yeah, to double its revenues. You have any other examples of companies that can double their revenues quickly? There are quite a few on the junior market.
Um, you could look at dollar. I don't know the exact numbers out of my head, but if you compare like what dollar was doing, like the size of their loan book, I think before listing, it was probably like under a billion Jamaican, but up to recently, I think they're almost at, is it almost 3 billion or so they're aiming for? Let me check. I think it's almost 3 billion they're at, Like that has grown significantly. If you look at what the profits that they're doing, like at the core of it, it's easier to double $1 million versus doubling $1 billion. I
Exactly.
remember there was this book I read with about, it was talking about a lot of things Buffett was talking about. Like he's saying that it's as his wealth has grown and grown, it's getting a lot harder to generate return, like to generate the kind of returns he was getting when he was had smaller money. you know. So up to June this year, Dollar had just under 2.6 billion in their loan book, and before listing, I think it was maybe like 800 million or something like that. So it's all like that's very easy to, or it's a lot easier for them to double their loan book and stuff. But and as it gets larger and larger, it's gonna be harder for them to double it and stuff. But yeah, and then the other thing we're saying is that to buy companies that I'd say their business model is scalable. So this kind of ties into the strong growth potential. So for example, tech companies or companies with a lot of digital products. I guess you're talking more about One Great Studio again. Remember, they have a lot of software stuff. It's very easy to like grow software. Like that's how, for example, a lot of the tech companies like the Facebooks, the Twitter, Instagram, Amazon, those stuff, they were able to grow significantly because they don't necessarily have to have a lot of employees, but a lot of their stuff is software. You can set up a website in a country across the world in a matter of seconds versus having to ship. Say you're someone shipping furniture, like you have to build up the furniture, hire people, electricity, all of that stuff, set up the furniture, then ship it, then take weeks, and then all of that stuff. Like versus just website, sell them some course online, that kind of stuff. Even think a
Exactly. And you don't
one-on-one
even have to, for one great studio or one on one, you don't have to
edufocal.
be in that target market, meaning you don't have to have a physical presence there. So it's not hard to actually get your products across to different markets, right? You can be in Jamaica still, and your software is sold in New Zealand. So yeah, I do like companies that sell digital products or digital services because that's definitely scalable. Definitely scalable.
Other thing too is that buying companies with, like, for example, a lot of export potential. Which, when you think about it, that's a lot of Jamaican companies, because a
A
lot of
lot of
these
Jamaican
companies that have
companies.
listed, they have been trying to grow and set up themselves, and a lot of the sites are now set at exports. Because, for example, we just spoke about GK. One of the ways that GK is planning to get this is, once again, exports with Cinco. Separate. A lot of
Hmm.
them are saying, okay, we are supplying the Jamaican market, we're supplying the Caribbean, but maybe we don't even want to just supply the Caribbean. We also want to
Hmm.
supply a lot of other countries. And then, for example, you have to also factor in our dollar, because our dollar, like it, our price can actually be pretty attractive sometimes with some of our products to other countries, you know?
Hmm. And you said
So,
Wisinco. Less than 10% of Wisinco's revenues comes from exports, right? What if in 5 years or 10 years, they spend a lot of marketing and they push heavily on export, and that's 50%? What would that look like in terms of exports? And bringing that foreign exchange into Jamaica, what would that look like? What benefit would that have on the economy? So, yeah, I do like companies with heavy export potential, heavy export potential for sure. And yeah, as you said, that does come under buying companies whose business model is scalable. So, yeah, agreed.
so let's see. Next tip, I'd say buying companies with